I'm going to give you some stats on Vietnam. Vietnam had about 110 million people, okay? The size of the state of Minnesota. I'm talking about square footage. Now, prior to 2019, the statistics are less than, basically 5% of their population was entrepreneurial, okay? And don't forget, it's really first generation after what they call the American War. We call the Vietnam War. Now, after 2022, their formation has rose from that 5% to 32% is entrepreneurial segments. Now, you have to understand, I started getting into Vietnam after I left Japan, and I basically semi-retired when I got to the point where I achieved everything I wanted to financially. I was about 70. I said, okay, enough is enough. I got enough to live. My kids are all successful. They're not going to ask for me for money. I'm not going to help them with money. Don't need to. I'm doing the same wisdom that my parents gave me. I'm giving that to my children and the grandkids. Okay? And by the way, they pick their own spouses. I'm done. And they got their own foundations. And I know what it's like being married. I mean, come on. Now, what's important now is what they call Resolution 68. It just passed in May of 2025, and it's an incentive in Vietnam for 2030. Their goal is 85% of their GDP is going to be private segment business, enterprises. They are pushing what I would call Reaganomics, like we received in the United States in the 80s. And my father, and I saw that. And then I saw what Trump is doing. Okay, with manufacturing and regulations and cut out the red tape, all these things. Those are all huge incentives, man. They have over 900,000 businesses in Vietnam to date. Their goal is 2 million privately held businesses in 2030. We're only talking about 4.5 years. And their GDP has grown over 32% since 2022. So they're basically trying to double their GDP. And I think they're doing it because they see what Trump's doing. They think the tariffs and the strategies, and their clients are not only United States, they got Russia, they got the Arab countries, they got China, of course, they got Japan, they got Taiwan, Singapore. And their efforts, their expertise, their education is basically science, technology, engineering, and money. Yeah. Materials, resources. And here's the kicker. Our average age of entrepreneurs, startups, is at 40, 45. Theirs is 20s to 30s, early 30s. This is back in my day. This is why I'm all pumped up about Vietnam. In fact, what did I do now? I invested in emerging markets in the stock market because I see it going like this. Yes, Asia is where it's going. That's why we outsource to them. But they are really creating the opportunity for a tremendous manufacturing operations because of their people, because of their drive, because of their resources. They have tremendous resources. And their population is growing because they're having babies, and babies. They're pro-life. They want babies. They know how all these wars over the last, 100, 200,000 years, that they lost their mothers and their fathers and their ancestry. Now they're all about family values, and so on. Now, I asked the question of what else do they have? Number one, they're younger. They're more optimistic, of course. They serve. They know how to serve. Their hospitality is off the chart when I went out there. And that's the vibe I felt. And now it's given me the opportunity that 85% GDP, the other 15, 20% is going to be foreign direct investment in Vietnam. Big companies to source, to build their operations, like the 3Ms and who's the big, the electronic companies, SpaceX. Elon Musk is putting billions of dollars in there. And the Trump family business has just invested over $1 billion in Hanoi and also Ho Chi Minh City. Even though they're communist/socialist, they're capitalistic. Believe me. They're going to grow, and they're going to go from a lower class. They're going to bypass the middle class to be rich. They're going to be tremendous. They've grown. They've already, I think their GDP's in the high 30s right now of all countries. And they're growing in leaps and bounds. Okay? Now, why else would they recommend this to the younger people? Well, first of all, their family businesses are generational. They've been working as a contract manufacturer for countries and exports all these years. Now, with the new tariffs and all the stuff going on, they're saying, you know what? Why aren't we domestically, like the United States, like Trump is trying to do, bring in manufacturing for ourselves and have the United States buy U.S.-made product? They're doing that over there. And their infrastructure is the problem because they haven't really sorted that out. And so now they're working with Russia. They're working with the Arabs to put in high supersonic trains and the infrastructure because they're building. Manufacturing. It's going to be huge. E-commerce, digital. They're fucking kicking ass, man. That's why I'm all excited, because I could mentor these kids. They're willing to listen, but they need the opportunity. And they're not going to get it from the second relation or the foundation, because the foundation, they were at war. Their grandparents and their parents were at war. So they need help. They got the education. They got the opportunity, but they need people like me to help them and to invest with them, because I trust them. I know it's not going to be for very long, but I love to be able to help somebody for 5-10 years. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to see the growth, and I'll pass it on. I know who I'm dealing with, and I see the market. The market is unbelievable, and they're very loyal to their people, you know? They're a happy people. Now, the other thing that AI said, which doesn't surprise me, it says, United States is comfortable, where Vietnam is on fire. What they mean by that is, where Vietnam is where the United States was in the 80s. This is why I call it Reaganomics 3.0, because of resolution, by the way, 68, and there's a resolution 57, which is all about technology and digital advancements. Yeah. So they're hungry, they're optimistic, and they think global. They're a peaceful country. They've had enough war. Okay? So I learn something every day. And when I talk to people every day, I open up a dialogue. Coffee shops, meeting with people. I look on LinkedIn and I'm like, oh my God, it's so sad. LinkedIn is now becoming Facebook. You know, they're putting, instead of saying, you know, I'm looking for work, they're all trying to sell something. Everybody's trying to sell something. They're not coming up with solutions. They're not even identifying where the problem is. And they're sitting at home in their pajamas. You got to get boots on the ground like Trump. Get the boots on the ground. Why do you think he travels so much? He's there. And that's what I've been doing in my 50 years. I was always on the road, always in the air. Now I'm like reducing it, saying, okay, I want to adopt some of these hungry kids that are ready to rock and roll. It's just like sports. You got like I'm going to give you an example. NHL. I love the NHL. I love hockey. I'm a St. Paul, Minnesota guy. I don't even like the Wild. You know why? They don't pick the right players and they don't have the right chemistry. I don't care if they got the right money or not. Doesn't matter. You come here to Florida, they got the right coach, the right GM, the right owner. They weren't considered big market. And what do? They're in the third Stanley Cup in a row, and they keep taking pieces to make sure their chemistry. Can you imagine being the player that was either traded or didn't make the cut? That's got to be really bad. And then they bring in people that you would never think would help the team. And guess what? The chemistry's even stronger and better. And that's what world champions do. That's what Trump's trying to do. When he was 45, he picked the wrong people. But he didn't know the game. Now he knows the game. And he's picking, and look at the people he's got. Youth, entrepreneurial, business backgrounds, military strategies. He doesn't play games. And that's the way you should be. But it's always the long game. So my thought here is, listen, I'm going back to LinkedIn, and I'm looking at these guys 45 and over that are white-collar recession, and I know who they are because I get a lot of requests through recruiters. Rock, who do you know? I wouldn't hire 95% of these people. And that's why this recruiter can't find enough talent for people to be hired. That's why they're taking risk at a 3-year experienced guy. And by the way, minimum salary now is, I would say, 120, 100, 200,000 for a customer service person that's got experience in my world, which is printing and so on. And there's only 2 things people are looking for. Employers are looking for a book of business, sales. They're going to protect what they bought because a lot of them are buying M&A activities. That's how they're growing, but now they're stuck because now you're talking about, supply chain, you're talking about pricing, you're talking about tariffs, you're talking about competition. Competition is fierce all over the world, and they're making it happen, man. Okay? The other thing is non-competes are a problem for these guys that are let go for whatever reason. Yeah. Then you got relocation. Nobody wants to be relocated today unless you're a single and you're 12 years old. I mean, seriously. This is why you're not seeing some of these kids go to college. They're going to technical school or they're starting up businesses. And they're going to learn through their parents or through somebody, mentorship or whatever, a guy like Rock. That's what coaches do. Coaches make you better. And if you can't cut it, you get traded. And the other thing that these 45 plus guys, which is really big, is compensation. Figure you're going to get cut by 50 to 70%. And a lot of these guys just want benefits. And if you didn't take care of your kids and didn't send them to college and didn't kick them in the ass, tell them to get out of the house, hey, what about husband and wife? They're talking about, what are you, lazy? Well, might as well get a divorce. It's better. I know guys that say, listen, Rock, I'm still married because it's cheaper to keep her. Well, in business, you can't say that. I see more liquidations than I see a for sale sign. There might be a for sale sign, but they're not going to sell. It's going to be a liquidation in parts. So I'll talk to you soon. God bless you. I truly appreciate everyone listening to me because I am not the smartest guy in the room. I'm just the most experienced. Okay? I'll talk to you soon. God bless.